أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الإمام المهديين وسلم تسليما. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
So, as the world is becoming darker and more violent, and as the suffering is increasing, and images and news, clips of fathers and mothers carrying their infant children that are dead, as more and more orphans, survive in this world, as their parents have been slaughtered, as the death toll begins to rise and the war drums begin to beat in more and more countries. Now we have Ukraine and Russia has been at war with one another for quite a long time.
Yep.
And now we have the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, and it's seeming that there's seemingly no end in sight, with more and more countries threatening to become involved. As the world stands at the brink of World War III, a nuclear world war that could cause the species to go extinct, people are wondering, and they ask, where is God from all of this? Why isn't God speaking? Jesus Christ, where are you? Imam al-Mahdi, where are you? Why don't they come forward and do something in order to save people? And I think that this question that I have heard and received from many people is not a new question, and it's been a question that was asked to the prophets and the messengers and the imams when they spoke about the end times and what was going to happen in this day and age that we're living in today. And we have the companions of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, for example, in one narration, they were around the Imam, and the Imam was telling them that, all of these things that were going to happen from there being murders, and there being chaos, and there being anarchy, and there's wars and rumors of wars, and all of these horrific things to the point that the people would pass by a grave and wish that it was them that was dead. And then the companions would ask about the divine just state, and they would ask about the Mahdi. And the answer would be given to them that this matter that your necks are reaching out to, this thing that you are looking forward to, will not be until 2/3 of the people perish. And then the companion said, 2/3 of the people perish? Well, then what will remain after that? And the Imam responds and says, will you not be pleased to know that you will be from the remaining third? And so we get from this answer that the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are telling the companions that the believers are going to survive these atrocities and these horrible times.
Okay.
And in another hadith, it clarifies even further that before this divine just state takes place and before the relief occurs, that the people of the earth will suffer two types of death, a red death and a white death. And the white death is plague, and the red death is killing, war, murder.
Yeah.
And the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam were explicit in their saying that in their narrations, that one of the reasons why the punishment must happen on the earth is so that the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt and the enemies of the Shia are destroyed.
Okay.
And even the Sufyani in his appearance and his coming, and he's a villainous character that we're going to do an episode about in the end times, and the arch nemesis of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam and the Qaim. The Sufyani, in the hadith, they state that before he even turns towards the believers, he spends the majority of his reign killing all of the enemies of the Shia. And so, of course, it's a horrible condition that's taking place. But one of the explanations that are given by God and His messengers and His imams for why this condition must be and why humanity must endure this suffering is because there are a lot of people whom are enemies of the Imam, who would object to the Imam, who would reject the Imam. And it is all of these bad people that are going to fall and die in the process of these wars and these calamities that are going to befall mankind. So that's a reason why the suffering must happen, and that's a reason why God allows it to happen, because it is ridding the earth from His enemies. Another reason why it must happen is given on the tongues of the saints and the prophets from before. And we get a reason that's highlighted in the book of Revelation, where the people of the earth, they shout out to God and they say, "O sovereign Lord, until when will you continue to allow this to take place? All of this death from the seals being broken, all of this chaos, all of this disease, all of this poverty. People are dying of starvation." And the answer comes to the people that, they're given their robes and they're told to wait for a little bit longer until all of those saints who were meant to be martyred, along with all those who were martyred before, are killed and martyred. And so we find out from this that a second reason why the suffering is allowed to take place and why God remains silent until the appointed time is because it was destiny that so many of God's chosen, beloved saints must die in order that God's fury and wrath boil against the enemies and against the tyrants and against the perpetrators of these great injustices against humanity. And so when all those who were written that they were supposed to be martyrs get martyred, then they join the ranks of John the Baptist, and they join the ranks of the disciples of Jesus Christ, and they join the ranks of the companions of Muhammad and the imams and all the prophets and the messengers. When the number is complete, then the relief happens and God gives permission that the punishment and the flood of the end times, so to speak, come down upon the people of the earth.
Wow.
So there's bad people that must die, that's a reason.
Yeah.
And there's good people that must die, and that is also a reason.
Wow.
And the third and final reason why all of this is allowed to take place is because the narrations state that the condition of the people today is the same as it was in the time of the days of Noah. And this comparison is drawn in the hadiths and also in the Bible, the New Testament. And when we look at the condition of the people in the time of Noah, they were getting married, they were having festivities, they were working and gathering money, but they were also described as a people that would pull their shirts over their faces in order to ignore the message of the messenger. And they would put their fingers in their ear to block themselves from hearing the messenger. And they were people that mocked the messenger and abused the messenger and said that you are just a people, you're just a man who's followed by, the lowest in society. Why would we follow you? And so it necessitates that God allows man to have a taste of that which his arms and his hands put forward, so that man be brought to his knees and people be put in a state where they are crying out to God and crying out to the heavens, all of them asking that God sends a relief, that God sends the Mahdi, that God sends Jesus. Every nation crying that God sends their Savior. And it's at that point, after the evil are gone, and after those who are at the highest levels of faith are also martyred and gone, and the rest of the people are brought down to their knees and humbled and have lost faith in every other system and every other ruler except for the ruler that's chosen by God, it is at that point that the relief happens. And so really, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change what is with the people until they change what is with their own selves. And so it's up to humanity when they can stop the suffering, or when the suffering stops, it's up to them. It's in their hands. It is them that are experiencing not evil that's come down from God. It's only God allowing the evil that man has brought forth to fall down upon their own selves.
Wow.
They're the ones who elected these people. They're the ones who are paying the taxes to these people. They're the ones that are wearing the uniforms and going out to serve these people that are not appointed by God in these governments. They're the ones that are clapping and being rallied up at rallies and voting and electing madmen that are destroying the planet and that are killing everything that's good on it.
I mean, it's very clear. It's very clear that is indeed what is taking place. And we have these warnings that you brought up that were mentioned in the scriptures, not to be like the people in the time of Noah who were just going about their worldly life and who were ignoring the Imam of their time and rejecting him and choosing to do their own thing. And clearly that's what's going on in the world today. And that is the root of the suffering. That's why these atrocities are taking place on the earth right now. And I really appreciate your answer, because this is certainly a question that many people have, and it's clear what is the cause of the suffering, and it's also clear, what is the solution, and how people can turn towards God and be saved.
Thank you so much, Tiffany.
Thank you so much for having me here.